Hi there, Honey Bunnies, Susan McGarry here, and today we are playing with tempered glass. I'm going to show you a couple of projects that I'm going to make with this, and if you stick around till the end, I'll show you a little bonus project that I made. Now the glass that I'm going to be using has already been broken, and that's because I found it at a glass shop near me that they had it in the trash, and here's a picture of what that looked like. So I got permission to take a bunch of it. The advantage to taking these giant pieces is that I could clean them before I break them into tiny pieces. So keep that in mind. And that's why I try to take these giant pieces and take them home this way. But if you happen to get your own piece of tempered glass, a big sheet of it, a lot of times it is either a tabletop, sometimes it's a window, shelves, things like that. You can break it yourself. And that's pretty fun to do. If you want to see what that looks like, check out Dennis Brady's video on breaking the tempered glass. It's less than 1 minute long, and he doesn't cover it up. So you actually get to see what happens when he hits it with a hammer. Sometimes people will use nippers. They'll nip the corner of it and that will cause it to break, or a punch. You can use a punch, but generally people will cover it up so the glass kind of stays contained. But in Dennis's 1 minute video, you can actually see it happen, nothing covering it. So that's a lot of fun to watch, and it's only 1 minute. But if you happen to get a full sheet of glass and you're not sure if it's tempered, you can actually check it for stress. You would use a polarizing filter. And so I've shown that in previous videos. And if you see that stress in the corners, you know it's tempered glass. But you can also take a hammer to it and see what happens. You can't do much harm to recycled glass. Tempered glass usually comes in 3 thicknesses. It comes in generally 3/8, 1/4, and 1/8. This one seems to be 3/8 thick. Generally, the thicker the glass, the bigger those little pieces are. And that gives you a very different look. It's a lot of fun to see the difference in these. Keep in mind, this is still sharp. When I was harvesting this from the trash bin, I actually cut myself because it is still sharp. So keep that in mind. So I'm going to be putting gloves on for most of this process. Dennis Brady also has this nice little handout on his website, Glass Campus. Under the tutorials, it's called Understanding Float Glass Firing Schedules, and it includes a section on tempered glass, and it is a little different. So it's nice to have that little section that talks about the differences of tempered glass. So if you're interested in playing with this glass, that's a really nice handout to check out. And one of the advantages of working with tempered glass or float glass is that generally it's free. Okay, all of this glass has been cleaned, so there are no fingerprints on it. Now that I'm wearing my gloves, it is going to stay clean. But see how I can just crumble them. And again, you want to wear gloves for this. So that little piece turns into a bunch of tiny pieces. They're super easy to break. Just push and see how it breaks into little pieces. We can fuse these in a flat mold and then slump it, or we can fuse and slump all at once. But if you're going to use a mold like I am today, I don't want to fuse it too hot. These molds aren't meant to go to a full fuse. So and also this kind of glass, tempered glass, looks really pretty when it's tack fused. So I am going to use this mold and tack fuse it and slump it all at the same time. And then I think I'll do a second mold. I'll show you that after this one's done. This one's already been kiln washed. So I'm going to fill in this whole thing, but what I decided was I want the bottom to be as flat as possible, even in my tack fuse. So I'm kind of layering bigger pieces on the bottom. Here's a picture of it from the side so you can see the depth of it. So for the firing schedule, I can actually go as fast as I want up because of all these little pieces. I can go very fast, almost as fast as my kiln wants to go, 500 degrees Fahrenheit per hour. And for tempered glass, a Tack fuse is about 1425 degrees Fahrenheit, and normally that would be almost a full fuse with fusible glass, but remember it takes a lot more heat for the tempered and float glass. And I think I'll hold it for maybe 10 minutes. We'll see what that does for it. And if I had gone to a full fuse, I could ramp down like normal, but because I didn't, I only went to a Tack fuse, that means all those little spots where air is trapped won't be able to transfer the heat evenly. So I am going to ramp down very slowly, very conservatively. So I'm going to go about 200 degrees an hour down to 200 degrees. So that whole time I'm going to be ramping down very, very slowly. And again, don't open this until it is at completely room temperature. Your room is not 200 degrees, so wait until it reaches 75, 80 degrees at least Fahrenheit before you open that kiln. We don't want any failures later. So this one is ready to go in the kiln, but I think I'm going to put a second one in with it. And for this one, I'm going to be using this mold. I've put a piece of thin fire paper below it. So the first thing I want to do is sort of line that bottom so I can get it as flat as possible with these chips. Definitely another advantage to using glass that is not completely broken. I'm trying to get a fairly even rim along the top of the bowl. Now having all these little pieces is what's going to make it really sparkle. It's like facets on a diamond. So that's why I am breaking up pieces for this top layer. So what I'm doing is slowly building up the sides with all these little pieces so they support each other. In some spots I see single layer around this edge, and I don't want this edge to be fragile. So I'm just trying to build it up so it's 2 layers at least. I'm going to fire it at the same firing schedule, so I'm going to put these in together. If I can fit one more, I'm going to put a pendant in there. Yep, looks like I can fit it. I'm not going to do a flat layer on the bottom. I'm just going to drop them in. I think the smaller the pieces, the better. I want to make sure that hole stays open. Okay, 3 pieces ready to go in. I'll show you in a second what they look like. Okay, they are out of the kiln, and oh my, they are awesome. Let's start with this little jewelry piece. So it pops right out. So this turned out awesome. This one, so remember I put all those flat pieces on the bottom. So that ended up very flat. Let's see if I can get you. Yeah, you can see that angle, how flat it is right there. So very smooth. Where I added little pieces in, do you remember there was sort of like a vein right there? I added little pieces. So that's a little rough. The edges are a little rough, but it's not bad. And you can see little pieces on the edges are falling off, and those are the ones that weren't connected really well. So they're popping off a little easy. There we go. Now the middle is kind of thick, because I feel like I have 2 layers there, but I feel like it's only 1 layer here, or maybe it's 3 layers in the middle and 2 on the edges. So this is kind of thick. I wouldn't repeat this. I would improve on it. All right, and this one. Let's pop this out. And this, I had the little chunks. Let's see if I can get an angle so you can see that. I kind of call them islands. So all these little individual islands that were put on the bottom, and then I put a second layer. But you remember I did that along the edge too. So this one feels more consistent of 2 layers of the chunks. So it feels stronger, it feels more evenly balanced with 2 layers. So this one I think came out really, really nice. I love this one. Let's see if you can see that profile. See that profile with the little lip on it? I got a few spikes, so I think I'll knock those down. But this is amazing. I'm absolutely loving this. So I think out of the 3, I think I got 2 successful pieces. This one I'm not so happy with. Now let's take this to the next level. Okay, so what I've decided is I want to edge this in a color. And how was I going to apply that color? And I've already decided that this is not going to be used for food. So it opened me up to other options. So what I came up with is these paints, and these are artist paints, and it shows the color. So this one's silver, this one's copper, and this one's gold, and they're very strong colors. And they can be put on glass, but of course they can't be washed like a traditional washing, put in the dishwasher or anything like that. Or you wouldn't want to put food on them anyway. So since we're not doing that, I want to use these. This is more of an art piece. So what I did was take this piece, which I wasn't too happy with, right? And I did a test. I put the silver along one edge, I put the copper along one edge, and I put the gold along another edge. And the idea was to see which color I liked best. I guess it's a personal preference. I don't want the silver. I think the silver's too light. It's down to the copper or the gold. I really thought I was going to go for gold. I'd have to say I am a fan of the copper. Then the question is, do I want it just along the edge, so it can only be seen from the edge, see, not from the top? Or can it also be seen from the top while the dish is sitting down? So this is a little more subtle. This is a more in-your-face. I think I'm going to do this, little on top. I like that little bit of bling showing, and I like that color. But what I found out is, if I put it on where the glass is smooth, it can scratch. I've gotten a little scratch right there, and that's because the glass was smooth. So what I found out was I need to etch the glass. So I put this pointy little bit on my grinder tool. And what I want to do is go around and etch where I want to put the copper paint. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is take my rotary tool, and knock down some of those sharp points along that bottom ridge. Be sure to wear your safety goggles while you do this. This can send glass flying. Okay, that feels pretty smooth. I like that. Okay, so I have etched everywhere where I think I want to paint, and now I want to go and paint this with a fine paintbrush. So I'm going to use this piece of cardboard as my little palette. It doesn't take much. And now anywhere that you have etched, you can paint. Now this is going to take a while, so I'll speed it up for you. Now I tried many different paints and even pens to get this edging, and this is the one that I loved, the look and the durability. So one thing I noticed is this edge is turned up a little more than that little square dish. So just doing the edging is showing when I lay it flat. I don't need to do the top of any of these pieces. See how that shows from the top? So I think that's going to turn out really nice. This is a really heavy-bodied paint. That's why artists like it so much. In other words, it's not watered down. So you're going to pay a little more for it. I got these paints at Michael's and used a coupon. So you're going to have to treat this like an art piece from now on. If you do have a problem with the edging, you can always paint it again. It might be pretty to do all three colors, just sort of little here, little there, little copper, little silver, little gold. That would be interesting. But I think there's a lot going on already in this, so I'm keeping it one color. I am actually thrilled with the results. Thrilled. I am loving this. It makes me want to work with this type of glass more. See how the back of that I painted? I think some of them I can paint on the back side. Not all of them. So when I'm all done with this, I'm going to turn it over and make sure I didn't miss anything, turn it sideways, just really check everything. So I'm trying to get a nice line going on there. So while you're watching this, I'm going to tell you, if you want to know details about a video, did you know that you could click on the little arrow down below the video? It's a tiny little arrow, and it'll show you all the details that I've put in about this. Sometimes it's hard for people to find. I don't think YouTube wants people to find it too easily because they make it so hard. But there's a little teeny arrow, I mean teeny tiny, and you click on that and it expands the description area. And if you want to subscribe, you have to be signed in. So YouTube sort of keeps track of the things you like, so it can recommend other things to you. I'm going to check it from all angles. Right in there, I want to get that little crack. Looks like it's not covered well. There we go. One little spot in here. That looks good. Now once this dries, it's actually really tough, especially where you've etched it. I love the color that I picked. I love how it shows along the edge from the top, from the side, from the bottom. Once this dries, it'll be very durable. But again, you don't want to put food in it. You're not going to want to scrub on it or put it through the dishwasher, but you can certainly clean it. And again, if it has a little scratch, you can touch it back up. But isn't that beautiful? I really like this. So, very happy with that. Let's set this aside, let it dry. Look how gorgeous that is. That is a beautiful pendant. And again, I want to add some paint to it. All right, for this one, instead of doing the edging, I am going to do little veining through it. So take my fine little paintbrush. I want to make it look like a vein of gold. So one thing I wanted to point out is a lot of these manufacturers of molds like this limit how high they want their molds to go safely. So I think I went a little hotter than I should have in the mold, but it doesn't look like it damaged my mold, so I'm pretty happy. Alright, that looks pretty cool. I think what I'm going to do is add a tiny bit of copper. You know what this looks like to me is lava. I think that's done. I think that is absolutely gorgeous. I love it. And I love the mixture of colors. Let's add a cord to it, see what it looks like. All right, that is my finished piece. I am thrilled with it. I think that is absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous. And then we add our bowl. Look at those two pieces made with recycled glass. Absolutely gorgeous. I hope you give this a try. And then I thought, while I was making these pieces, why not try it in these molds? So I started with the church and the base, and I filled it with the tempered glass, but little pieces. Lots of little pieces. And I just piled them in there, completely piled them up. And then, this is what came out. So I got this beautiful church, very bumpy on this side. This was the side that was up, can you see that? And very sort of flat on this side. So this side took on all that texture. And this side's got all that bumpy. So I'm actually going to work on this side. Now this one was, this side was down in the mold. And so see those little holes for air? Well, they're right here. See those little, that little nub. Well, this is going to make it difficult for this to stand on it, or for it to stand up flat this way. So I'm going to grind those off. So let's start with that. So fortunately, I fired this one hot enough, this piece, not this piece. This piece I used the same as the bowl and the necklace, but this piece I fired hot enough that it's fairly flat. So I am going to face it this way. That's the front, that's what I want the front. And the smooth side of the building facing forward. I could do it the other way. I could certainly do it this way, with the bumpy side forward. But for this one, I'm going to put the smooth side forward. And I'll tell you why. In here is a window. And if you look at the mold, see those two windows? So they're kind of set in here. And this door is down here. And I can feel it. It's hard for you to see, but just know that these shapes, I can feel them. So what I decided to do is use that paint that I have and paint the door frame and paint the windows to kind of look like stained glass windows. And then I'm going to glue this to the base. And you can use any glue you want. I'm going to use a 2-part epoxy. I'll show you that in a minute. Alright, now what I want to do is glue it to the base. And I'm going to do a quick drying 2-part epoxy. And you got to mix it up for a minute or two. But remember, we only have 5 minutes before this starts to set. So I really had a lot of fun learning more about tempered glass and trying all these different projects. And I only used about half of the glass that I got. So I plan on doing a few more projects and playing with it. So I hope it inspired you to give it a try and you keep your eyes peeled for some free glass. So thanks for watching and be cool, honey bunnies. Bye.